Hey fam, it's your girl Nachi, and I'm here with.
Damaris, and I am the first and last of what God made.
Ooh, and what is that?
And that's the truth. I'm just the first and the
What
last God made of me, period.
of
Point blank.
Damaris?
That's
Okay,
it.
there we go. There we go.
I
I
hope he didn't
know.
make clones of you guys, but I know there's no one else like me.
You're right. You're
Thank
one in a
you.
million.
Thank you. Thank you.
No lies told. Oh my goodness. But today we have a really good topic. I feel like every topic is great, but
Right?
this one is about money, and more specifically, our relationship with money. We all have.
Oh, that was the wrong way. Is our relationship with money.
Yes. It might be a love or hate type of relationship, but we really want to talk about how money impacts our life, how we can build that healthy money mindset, and really get on that right track so that we can teach our children, younger generation, to really have good money habits, so that they can build wealth and um, live life.
Right, the way we're supposed to, because I just can't think about, oh, we're on this rock that's hurtling through space and we here worried about paying bills.
Girl.
Like, no, we need to be enjoying life. And understandably, what we need, though, in order to do that is financial security and the stability to be able to enjoy those things in life. So, totally, I get that. And this is why the idea of really understanding what your relationship to money is so critical, because that really drives ultimately how you engage with money and how much of that comes to you in a way that is going to be impactful and positive for your life and for your future. And so, well, you and I have talked about this,
Yeah.
and before getting into this, people may be like, well, why do you think you know these things? Actually, I don't think anybody says that when they listen to our podcast. But just to give some of just to give our listeners some context into my background, before working as an independent consultant for digital strategy, I was working within the asset management space for 18 years. And in that space, I was in the marketing department. And throughout my tenure, I learned so much about finance and how to build for your retirement, and for really saving for your nest egg, and and things that I know my parents didn't know about, and many of my family members aren't as aware of. And the only reason I was able to and have a nice 401k package and whatnot is because I worked in that space. But had I worked in a different kind of field, I don't know how much of this I would have easily, been able to understand the financial space and really understanding how investment works, and all those things that contribute. And investing isn't the only way to earn money and also or to save for your retirement, but it is a big, it's something that's pretty significant contributing to your retirement plan, especially when our generation, we don't have the luxury of careers with pension plans.
Right.
Our
Yeah.
parents did. So they were very fortunate, and part of the reason of why it's not like they really had to understand the the financial space as I learned it, because they also worked in a very specific field that was going to provide them a pension after they retired, which is a beautiful thing. But those kinds of packages just don't exist for the most part, for
Right,
many
right,
jobs.
right.
So I say all of that because I am grateful for my time in corporate because I learned so much, and I have been able to share that with you, with my immediate family and other family members when they have questions. But I I also understand that there is a lot, that it can be overwhelming, and even separate from that, I also recognize that the way we were raised influenced also how I viewed money. So while I learned the technicalities of how to make certain investments and all that good stuff throughout my career, I also I also have a very specific attitude towards money in general.
Yeah, yeah.
I always expect it to come to me. And
Yeah,
I
me
think
too.
that has always been something that I partly learned from our parents, and something that's just also been innate with me. But it is very much how your relationship to money is reflected in your money situation today, right? Like how you
Agreed.
view money, how you think about it, your attitudes toward it, all impact and affect how you are financially. And so I think, you and I have talked about this whole idea of, yes, your relationship to money, but that starts with what is your mindset with money,
Right.
right? And I think
Yeah.
about it's
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Uh I have the same attitude where I don't think I ever feel or believe that money is not going to come to me, right?
right.
And and it's funny because and I feel like we have a combination of both of our parents who have two different viewpoints of how they look at money. You have Poppy, who is more of the spender, and if we think about the archetypes in with money, he would be considered the romantic because he loves to spend money on himself because it makes him feel good, right? And
Yes.
spend money on his family because it just makes him feel good. He likes the luxuries of life. He loves to experience
He
life
likes
as
to
it
treat
is.
himself.
Yes, yes, because in his mind it was, why I'm not going to take this when I'm gone. I might as well
Right.
enjoy it right now. So why am I going to save my money to enjoy it later? And
You
mommy
can't
was
bury it. That was one thing that he always said. He's like,
yes.
you cannot bury your money with you. It's like
And
it
mom,
can't go with you.
yes, no, right. He's just like, what? That's just it was absurd to him.
Hmm.
And mommy was the complete opposite, where she was the saver. She wasn't
Yes,
about spending money frivolously. And I feel like we have a combination of the both, right? It's like, oh,
we
we
do.
we spend, yes, we like to live life now, but we also understand that we need to save for later.
Hmm.
You just never know what comes up. And so I always look at money as, and even when, because I want people to understand, it's not about like, oh, you always got it, because there's been time when I didn't have it, but I
Right.
never felt like it wasn't gonna happen. And there's
Right.
there's a difference,
Yes.
just because I didn't have it at that moment, I was never in a state of despair, like, oh, shit ain't
Right.
working for me. I'm never gonna get, above
Hmm.
water. No, I just understood that shit happens
Right.
and money is gonna come to me eventually. And I'm just gonna appreciate what I have now.
Yeah, like I can say I've always lived an abundant lifestyle,
Hmm.
but it's like you mentioned, it's really shaped by nurture and by nature. Some of it is just I do things intuitively, and then others are just like I think about, okay, this is what Papi has always instilled in us, and this is what mommy has instilled in us. Like with mommy, yes, the idea of saving or having something just in case of emergency, or
Hmm.
just for planning for the future. Like she
Right.
would plan for her for Christmas so she could
Yes,
buy all the gifts for her
yes,
niece and nephew. So she would be
yes,
planning for this and putting money aside from the beginning of the year to the end of the year so she
yes,
could buy her niece and nephew gifts, her immediate family gifts. So that was her in her planning stages, and that's what I got from her, and I love that. But at the same time, I like to spend my money where I like to spend my money. Like you
yes.
said, I get that from Poppy because I'm like, where am I going to go with this money? But
Right.
why?
Let me enjoy it now.
Like, money is an earthly realm thing. That is not a spiritual thing. The
Right.
energy of money
Right.
is spiritual,
Yeah.
but the actual, the money itself, that's here, that's on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to look fly while I'm here.
Oh,
While I'm in this earthly realm, I'm gonna look fly. Now don't be like, oh my God, she says she look fly. No, no, no. Look, my style is my style. but but I don't go broke buying stuff.
right. You
Like I feel like
right.
it's a balance of things, right? Like I don't I'm not into like, oh, I gotta have this bomb ass car. No, I don't really like, no, I just know I wanna be able to move when I wanna move, the way I wanna move. If I want to go
Mm-hmm.
on a trip, I want to be able to do that at the drop of a dime. If I want to buy this outfit, buy this jacket, this bag, I want to be able to do that however I want to do it. I don't want to be ever told or constrained with how I move about in life.
Right.
And so,
Right.
but then I also understand like, okay, well, yeah, no, I can't get that right now. And that's fine. And
Yeah.
so
Mm-hmm.
I think about it's what people really need to recognize, and it starts with how do you feel when you think about money? Like it
Mm-hmm.
starts with how do you feel? Do you have a positive reaction or is it a negative reaction when it
Yeah.
comes to when you think about money? Does it make you feel anxious or excited? That makes me feel excited.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I'm annoyed when I got to think about like, oh, I got to pay this credit card bill. But I'm excited when I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to do this.
Yeah, but
So
even I think, well, even with Bill, no, not that I'm excited, but it's just like, oh, like I got it. Let me pay
yeah,
this.
no, 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 no. You're right. You're
So
right.
it's never a dread. The only
Yeah,
time dread would come is if you don't have the money to pay that bill.
that's true. You
And
know
that's
what? No, you're right. You're right. No, but I get annoyed because I'm like, come on, why I gotta pay this? But that's stupid. I gotta pay it. Like, in the Bible, Jesus said when they try to get at him, like, well, what about tax collectors? They're not good people. He's like, give to Caesar what is owed to Caesar. That is his money. His money is on his face. Give him his money. And I'm like,
stop
you're right.
fussing. Stop
Take your
fussing.
money. Whatever. God's still gonna give me some more.
Exactly. Exactly.
But no, I always found out funny. He was like, okay, well, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Like, why are you harassing me about some dumb shit like that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
That's not God's money.
They're like, it's
But
all mine. It's all mine.
right. But you know, framing it, thinking of things like starting about being introspective about your relationship with money starts with how do you feel when you think about money? And
Hmm.
then I would say, how important is money to you? Right? Because for
Yeah.
me, I don't go around thinking, let me work like a donkey so I could one day be a billionaire. Nah,
Yeah.
I'm never gonna work like a donkey. Like, that's just
Mhm.
never gonna happen. And if that means I'm not a billionaire, I could live my life in peace. I'm okay
Mhm.
with that. I
Mhm.
just want to live a
Mhm.
good life. I want to live a comfortable life. And that includes spending time with my family, the people that I love, my friends and family, my community that we're building here. Like, that is what brings me joy. I
Right.
don't,
Right.
so if you're telling me in order to do that, And you'll get this from all those books about like how to be a successful millionaire or billionaire. They're like or rather not how to be a successful millionaire billionaire, but it's like what do people in those positions do on a day to day? They get up at 5 a.m. in the morning. They read 5 books. Blah blah. I don't want that life. You sound crazy. I'm not getting up at 5 o'clock every day. Like this is never gonna happen.
Sound robotic.
You sound crazy. That doesn't sound like a life I want to live.
Mhm.
So I'm
Mhm.
not. But but again, how important is money to you? And those are things you need to assess when you think about your relationship with money. Is money a priority to you? And again, to me, there's no right or wrong answer to this, right? Because
Right.
it's truly what you feel that works for you.
Mhm.
Like, yes, I,
Mhm.
I want to live a comfortable life and be happy, but I'm also not going to, it's not going to be to my detriment.
Yeah, I
I'm just
think
not going to
about
do that.
yeah, I think about your parents how our parents how they never work so that they can build a life in DR, right? Your father particularly was always, no, I want to enjoy my life right now where I'm at. This is
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I I want to buy a house here and not a
Right.
house in DR because I want to
Right. Because all of
enjoy
our aunt and uncles, they all saved their money and
and build their
they were
house.
buying land and
Yeah,
building homes in DR. Yep.
and beautiful. But
Yeah.
at to your father's point, he was always like, "No, I don't want to wait till I'm retired or when I'm done
Mm-hmm.
working to move there and live my life. I
Mm-hmm.
want to enjoy a house right here and enjoy that and not wait until I'm retired and hope I retired young enough to go enjoy it."
Right. Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, and that all comes to, again, it's understanding what drives your money attitudes.
Mhm.
And that is going to help inform and keep you focused on and disciplined towards your goals, because ultimately, like, that's really what you're trying to get at,
Yeah.
right? And and I think for a lot of people, and I'll say that again, you and I, we've had a unique upbringing with, and a balanced upbringing rather,
Mhm.
with two people on two ends of the spectrum, and they really complemented themselves as a couple because they were able to balance each other out. If my mother was exactly like my father, we would be destitute, to some degree.
No,
like,
seriously.
and
Seriously.
not to say that we would, I mean, you know what, not for nothing, let me not disrespect my father, because he would never let us be destitute. He would figure out some way. But the idea is like they weren't living crazy, living la vida loca, right? Like, because they both are like, we gotta
Yeah,
spend money.
yeah, they're spending money.
No, but it would also be terrible if we were only just about hoarding and saving and waiting
Right.
to,
That
like,
special moment, that
yeah, that's
special
like my,
day for us to, yeah,
yeah, like Bobby was
retire our golden
right.
years.
Mhm, all of that. Like Papi was very much about living in the moment. He was never, we had that nice flatware, the nice silverware, and we ate with that silverware every
Mhm.
day. And
Mhm.
that always stuck with me. He's like, we don't wait for a special occasion to use our fancy silverware to be like, oh, it's Christmas and now, no, he said we're good. And I'm like, you're
I
goddamn
remember
right.
yes,
Because
they had a China set and we used to eat from the
and we
China
used
set.
it. And we used
It
it
wasn't saved at all.
regularly. Regularly. And I'm like, that's right. What are
So,
we waiting for?
needless to say that that China set was not passed down.
No, because it was used and abused. But it was all right. I loved it.
Right,
I was like,
right.
okay, whatever. I'm like, who else doesn't eat from porcelain dishes every day? Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Oh
Well,
my
we do.
gosh.
Look, I love that. I love that for us, and that's what it was. But I'm just saying that everybody, so not everyone had that kind of balanced lifestyle. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can appreciate that you and I had a very unique and amazing upbringing. And this is why, like, I love to talk about this, because I love our parents so much for
Mm-hmm.
what they did for us, and how they were really always trying to provide us with experiences. And
Yeah.
this is, again, not to say that we did not grow up with a silver spoon in our mouth. No, our
Mm-hmm.
parents worked
Mm-hmm.
hard, and we grew up in a working class, lower middle class family. But we always always had experiences, and that's what, and again,
Mm-hmm.
that's how I live my life. I love that, because I want to have memories.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like, oh, but I got $1 billion in the bank.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I want to spend time, and I want to do fun things that I'll never forget.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm full of now. That being said, I'm tapping into the psychological and emotional aspects of money, because, again, people have, you know, vastly, or can have vastly different experiences than we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it really does start with reframing your mind to come from a place of abundance and not scarcity.
Yeah.
And and if you were raised to think from a scarcity perspective, that is going to be a harder shift for you. I get that. But I feel like the first step in moving from that kind of scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset starts with being grateful for what you have right this moment.
Yes.
And also being grateful for what you know is coming your way, and expecting that. That has been the biggest thing for me. Because, again, like, yeah, there are times where I'm just like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
When
Why
is
is
my
this
next,
happening? Yes.
yeah, when is my next project coming up?
Right.
When my
Right.
next dollar is coming through?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I have to recalibrate and be like, wait a minute, bitch. Hold up. You still waking up in your bed some
Ex-
8:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock
You're
on
not
a
wrong
regular
yet.
work
Yes.
day. You here in bed, and I thank God. I'm like, thank you for this lifestyle, and my soft bed and my soft sheets. Thank you for the abundance that comes to me freely and easily
Yeah,
every day.
it's always having that grateful mindset. It
Yes.
reminds me, and I think a great example of when you're grateful for even the smallest things,
Yes.
you will be rewarded even greater.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna share a quick story. When I was it's a good example of gratitude and being grateful for like the small things. When I was in high school, senior year, you're doing all these activities and uh, trips and all of that. And I remember mommy came home and she gave me this photo album, this small photo album that I still have to this day. She was like, "Oh, here, this is your little graduation gift, right?" I was so excited. I was like, "Oh, thank you, mommy. Oh, I love this. It's so cute." Loved it. Because I was like, I could put my little cute photos up in here.
Right.
It was maybe a couple of weeks later, mommy comes home from work and she gave me this jewelry box with earrings, these gold hoops. And she was like, I had to get this for you because she was just so excited over this album.
She's like, I spent
I,
$5 on it.
yes, yeah, no, seriously. She said that I felt bad that this is all I gave her.
Aww.
And I was just like, and I was taken aback at the time because I was like, but I love that album. That was so
Right,
cute.
right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
Like,
Mhm.
I appreciated that small gift that because of my appreciation and how grateful I was, she came back and was like, oh, I'm going to give you these gold hoops.
Look at God. Look at God.
So I say that to just say even the smallest things, because I know like with people who are in that season where,
Yeah.
you know, your money is acting funny
Right.
and you can't see the light.
Yeah, you can't see the forest from the trees. I get it.
And but you have to kind of remind yourself, is your ass outside homeless?
Come on now.
Are you able to feed yourself and your children? I mean, like, think about those things. Like, I know it may not be like a big deal, but when you start looking at all the good things,
Mm-hmm.
you'll start seeing more good things, and more good things is going to start coming to you
Yep.
because you're going to start attracting that towards you. And I'm a testament to that because like I said, even when I was struggling financially, I never felt like this was it. For me, it was always, "Oh, this is just a phase. I can't wait to get out
Right.
of this phase, but
Right.
this is just a phase." I didn't get
This
stuck
isn't
in that,
permanent.
right? I didn't get stuck in that because when you get stuck is when you then lack any innovation. You don't want to do anything to further
Mm-hmm.
yourself because you
Mm-hmm.
feel stuck, and so therefore you are stuck. So you gotta start thinking and getting out of your head. And in that moment of in that season that you're in where your finances not may not be doing well, which then means okay, you need to now have to sit down. Like once you kind of get through, like, okay, what is your issue with money? Like
Yeah. And that's
mentally,
that goes back to
emotionally,
like,
yes.
right, what how do you think about money? Does it make you anxious or are you
Hmm.
excited about it?
Hmm.
Right?
And
And then if you're anxious, why?
why what's causing that, and deal with that, and
Mm-hmm.
then start looking at how you're actually did, like really looking at your money, how it's coming in and coming out.
Yeah.
You know, you can't, I have a friend who she makes a great salary, but she is always underwater.
That's crazy.
She it's always like she can't get ahead. And when I say she makes six figures. She
Right.
makes great money, but she can never get ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And she literally had told me, I just don't want to look at my money. Like I don't want to sit down and do my budget. I don't really want to deal with it. You're not dealing with your situation. And
Right.
so you have to actually, you can't you can't get ahead unless you understand where your money is going,
Right.
right? Your money's coming in. What are you spending your money on? Where the bulk of your money is going.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
need to figure. I think about when Crystal was on our show, Crystal Todd, CPA.
Yes.
She's really good. If y'all don't follow her, y'all need to follow her because she definitely talks about like your mindset and
Mm-hmm.
how you need to learn and switch your mindset so
Yep.
that you can have more control of your money. And it starts with you understanding what comes in and what comes out. And she has a great
This is a
uh
great tool, right,
yeah,
to
she has
help
a
you. Mm-hmm.
budget. Yeah, she has a budget spreadsheet that within that spreadsheet that she created, she has a, I don't know what she calls it, but it's like a calculator of where would you like to be. So
Mm-hmm.
you enter in ideally how much you want to spend in housing, how much you want to spend in your car payment, how much you want to spend. So just like making you sit there and think like
Mm-hmm.
this is where I want to be, right? And then you put in what you're currently making and what you're currently paying. And then she'll show you, okay, this is how much you should be making. So then now you have a clear picture of, okay, this is where I want to be. This is where I'm at now. So I
Right.
need to figure out, do I need to get a job, you know, work, find another job that's going to pay me more?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I get a side hustle?
Right.
And, and just like, and she gives you tips on how to, create, have more control of your money and your spending.
Yeah, and
And
people should listen to the episode. And we it was from season one, and
yes,
it's called "It's All About the Benjamins."
yeah. No,
And
she's
so
really great. And
yeah,
she
so she
does,
was
yeah.
great, a great guest, and all her information's there. But and it's good because when you listen to that episode, she does talk a little bit about it there, and also,
Mm-hmm.
as you were mentioning, like all these resources that she offers. And it's funny because I do, when it comes to the idea of budget, I actually don't like the term budgeting, right? Because for me, it
Yeah, I
feels
don't
like
like
a
the
little
term
bit like it
budgeting,
comes from
but
the,
yeah.
like it comes from a place of scarcity. So I like to be, I like to think of it more as like you being disciplined towards your goals. Identify what your financial goals are, and then it's like, then figure out how you're going to be disciplined towards that. So reframe is just a simple reframe of how you think about it. Because when I think of budgets, I don't budget. I'll tell you this right now, Nachi.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
budget.
Mm-hmm.
I just pay my bills, and I know I'm like, okay, this is the kind of I'm investing here and there and doing this. I don't budget.
Yeah,
But
what
yeah.
I do actually, so I agree. I don't like the word budget because I do feel like, oh, I'm it makes me feel constrained. But I do like Crystal's spreadsheet. I like the whole idea of showing me where my money is, right?
Yeah, 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 that makes
However,
sense.
so what I actually do for me, because I told you guys that I'm a combination of both of my parents. I save. I don't like to save, but I know I have to save. So things have to be automatic for me to save,
Uh-huh.
right? Because if it's not automatic, it's not gonna happen. That's number one. And number two, I'm gonna always look at it like, oh, well, I could use this money instead of saving it. I could use it to do X, Y, and Z. But what has been helpful for me is that I have separate accounts. I have my bill account. I have my spending account. So when my check goes in to my bill account, one of the bills is to pay myself to spend money, right?
Right.
That's my money to spend. And it helps me to separate those accounts because I found myself when everything was in one account that I would spend money, and
Mm.
sometimes uh I'm not paying attention because again, I'm not like, doing a line by
Okay, yeah,
line
no, that makes
budgeting.
sense. Yep,
So
yep.
it's like, oh, I may overspend, like, oh shit, I forgot that this money was supposed to come out of my account.
Wah, wah.
And then I'm not trying to calculate like, oh, okay, well, I got this amount of money in my account.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
um, I could spend this much. I'm not doing math like that on a daily basis, right? So if I have my account separate and I know this is out of my budget, like I do a one-time budget, meaning these are all of my expenses and this is how much I want to give myself every other week. That's part of my bill because I'm a bill.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm spending money. So that money that comes to that second account, I spend freely. I don't, as long as it's there, I can spend it.
Mm-hmm.
I also have an account that I call emergency spending account. What does that mean? And I got that term from Crystal because I like
Mm.
when she was just like, "Oh yeah, you need to have emergency cash or emergency spending cash." And this is like extra money. So the money that I get from my side hustle, that goes into that account. So anything that I would normally have used my credit card in the past, where um, maybe the kids need something or I want to buy something or whatever. It's not like a real necessity or anything like that, but it covers that. So I have that emergency cash. I don't really touch it unless it's like extra stuff that we
Right.
want to get.
Okay.
And then I have my emergency savings account. That's the, if
That's truly if shit hits the fan, this is
right,
where.
where I want to, at least my goal is to have 6 months of expenses in there,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even touch that.
Right.
That's like a true emergency. Some shit breaks down. Okay, let me use that so I don't
Right, right,
use my
right.
credit card. So that helps me to kind of put my money in
It's
buckets.
organization.
Yes,
And
yes.
so
And I don't feel constrained. Like I don't
right,
feel
right.
like,
You're like,
oh, I
oh,
can't
I
spend my
didn't buy my
money.
right, like I didn't buy this latte, this because at the
Mhm.
end of the day, if you feel like that's something that you need to do, go
Mhm.
ahead. If that's
Mhm.
part of your financial goal, go ahead, buy that
Yes.
latte.
Right, right.
Yes, know that how much you're spending on in a year, but maybe that's your treat to yourself.
Yep.
And I think people need to also give themselves some grace in that. Like,
Mhm.
look, I don't want y'all to be like, oh, Damaris told me to spend my money. No,
Let me live
do
life now.
right.
I can't take it
Do
to
what's
my
gonna make you
grave.
happy. I mean, but obviously do that within the realm of what you can afford to do. I
Mhm.
I, I just
And
want
be
to
real
go
with
back to one.
yourself, because if you have to
Right.
get a job that's going to pay you more, then that's what you need to do.
And that's fine.
Or
That's
get a
fine.
side hustle. Like you need to figure it out.
Right. One of the when it comes to just mindset again, because mindset is like the background of all of this.
Mhm.
There's some
Mhm.
things that I've used that have helped just continue my affirmation and reaffirm how I believe about money and abundance and all that good stuff. So one, I subscribe to this daily email, and I think you do too, Nachi, and it's from the Universe Talks. So
Yes.
it's TUT, the Universe Talks. I love it every day because it's something positive and it's like a little daily affirmation. And I love reading the postscript, like the PSS. And it's like, oh, it's like a little note to me. I'm like, thank you, Universe. Okay.
She
Anyway, the
really
guy that,
thinks that it's for her
no, I do.
specifically.
They're like, Damaris, the angels are so proud of you. I'm like, I know. Thank
My
you.
angel spoke to me.
Girl, they be gassing me up. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. All right. But he also, the guy who created that had some years ago, he has like this audio downloads of like, these affirmations and this it was this particular one was called Infinite Possibilities and really just trying to teach you how to move through life and thinking about what it is you want and without limitations. We've talked about this in previous episodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving without limitations, thinking that way. And so he when he talked about money and when it comes to like changing negative thought patterns about money, one of the funniest examples that he brought up I thought was great was when you go to a restaurant or something and you get the bill, don't look at the bill and be like, oh my God, it was that
Mhm.
much.
Mm.
He said, look at that bill and be like, that's it? I was like, okay,
Yeah,
that's
no.
it? And it's just like, you reframing that. Like,
Right.
why? You saying that's it because you know you got it and
Yeah.
you're going to get more. More is going to be coming your way. So that's no big fucking deal. And I love that because that is how you should be looking at it. So I'll be having to remind myself. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No. There was a book that I read and I can't remember the name, so we'll make sure to add it on the show notes. But there was a book that I read and I think I shared it with you some time ago. And the author in the book, she does something similar to that, where it's like where she tells you go to a department store or anywhere and whatever's in your bank account, don't think about like what bills you have to pay. Go around the
Mm-hmm.
store and look at, the different types of items, even items that you would probably would have just told yourself, no, I'm not going to get that because it's too much. But if you have that amount in your account, think to yourself, oh, I could get this. Oh, I can
Mm-hmm.
get this. Oh, I got this.
Right.
It's just like so that you can get that feeling of, oh yeah, I have the money for this, I can purchase this if I want to, and not think about anything else. And I loved her book because she gave you some really practical ways of trying to change, or help you in changing your mindset
Mm-hmm.
of how you view money, and um, bringing more abundance to your life.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Yeah.
you just reminded me of that book, and I have to make sure to include
Yeah,
that
I
in
think
the
you I
show
think I
notes.
have the digital version of that book. I think you got me the digital version of that book if I'm
Did
not
I?
mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah. And then my other favorite one is the Deepak Chopra, The Creating Affluence. I love this little book. This I got from a little yoga studio in New York City, like around 14th Street. You
Mhm.
and I went. It was like had to have been decades ago because you were living in New York,
Mhm. Mhm.
and our clothes smelled like curry every time we went to this
Oh
place.
yes, I remember
It
that.
was cute, but I was like, God, what the? It's like my shit stink like curry. And so, but it was a great yoga
Oh
studio.
my
It was like integral yoga something. But they had a little bookstore and I got this. I picked it up. I remember I was like, oh, creating affluence. And it's the A to Z steps to a richer life. And what's nice about it is that he has uh like two paragraphs for every letter of the alphabet. And the idea is that you read a page daily and
gosh.
it's just
Yeah.
reinforces
Yeah.
that mindset of abundance. And so
Mhm.
we've talked a lot about that, about the mindset, and I think we touched a little bit about the practicality of incorporating certain things into your life. And so I feel like we should talk a little bit more about that, of what are those things to help achieve, kind of like you've mentioned some things. And one thing I do want to share also is similar to your approach of having multiple accounts that serve different purposes. The way in which someone can allocate their income too is by this rule of 50/30/20 rule. So
Mm.
the idea is that 50% of your income goes towards the things that you need, right? So things you can't live without. We're talking about school supplies, bills, of course, shelter, all those things that you have to have. Then the next 30% goes towards your wants. So we're talking about the things you can live without, but
Mhm.
like going to the movies or something, but these are the things that bring you joy.
Right, right.
But you need them in order to enjoy your life, because we are here to live a life of joy, not a
Mhm.
life of servitude or working like a donkey.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then your last 20% can go towards savings. So you grow this and use it towards whatever your future goals and or potential investments. So that is also a nice way to look at how to break up your income if you don't want to, if you're not quite sure where to begin. Or because again, it's not about like just this like being draconian, and it's just like I'm gonna eat ramen for just the next 12 months of my life and not
Mhm.
enjoy life
Mhm.
or ever go out to eat. Or
Mhm.
that's not living. I'm
Right,
sorry.
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, but if that's your thing, that's your thing.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying. And so, yeah. So I think that's another way to approach kind of like the management of money. And then I am going to say that, what is it? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been like maybe 3 years ago. It was July of 2021 when
Mhm.
we were preparing to go to Florida for a month and do our little annual trip to Florida with
Yeah.
the family and, rent a house or whatever. And that summer you were like, okay, it was like literally 2 days before we were going to meet up. You're like, oh, by the way, I want you to teach the kids some financial literacy stuff. And I'm like, wait, what? You mean in 4 weeks?
Yes, I just believed in you. I knew you could
Well,
handle
clearly
the
you did. And I
request.
was like, okay, well, let me scramble while I'm also packing a month's worth of stuff. But it was actually a really great exercise for me because, again, first of all, I was honored that you trusted me and my expertise and my experience to be able to share with the kids, what how I think they should be thinking about money
Mhm.
so that they
Mhm.
could live the rich auntie life that I do, you know, without being a rich auntie. Now, so, and I was really, it was kind of exciting to do, and I had never considered doing anything like that, and it actually led me to coming up with like a little curriculum, financial literacy curriculum for
Mhm.
the kids, and
Mhm.
that was a lot of fun because what I also recognize with their generation is that they're not only going to be having to deal with paper money, fiat money, they're also going to be dealing with digital currencies and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot more that they need to be considering for the future and so forth. But it led me down the road of creating a book that talks about
Mhm.
wealth lessons to teach your kids.
Yeah.
And while I created it at that time, I thought it was like, okay, I'm going to be building out some curriculum for parents to help with their kids. But I didn't move it forward after that because I got caught up with other things. And then now we started doing our podcast. And it's like, look at this full circle. Now I'm getting to talk about it again
Yeah.
and share
Yeah.
it with the
Yeah.
community that
Yeah.
we're building, because it really does talk about how, I mean, as a kid, like that's where really a lot of your attitudes and your belief systems are shaped when it comes
Mhm.
to money. You see how
Mhm.
your parents move. You either see them struggling, or even if they're struggling, like, well, what is their attitude towards money, right? Because if
Yeah.
you could be like, because we all had to struggle,
You're right.
again,
Mhm.
but it's just like, okay, how do you bounce back?
Right.
And that
Right.
is what you pick up on. And so I just want to share a few things, and then obviously you guys could get the ebook. It's free, but I think just sharing like the first few kind of lessons to me are like really important, and why you know uh and I feel like even the lessons were applicable to also adults. If you remember Nachi, it's been a while since you saw it, and I shared it with you
Mhm.
again. I don't know if you prepared for this episode,
Wow.
but in any
Oh
case,
my goodness.
the first one is what we've spent most of the time talking, which is developing positive money attitudes. And right, it's like, again, when you think about your thoughts are powerful and they create your
Mhm.
reality, point blank.
Mhm.
So if you think money is something that is hard to come by, well, guess what?
It's gonna
It
be
will
hard to
be.
come by.
Like I said, every morning, among other things that I say that I'm grateful for, I also say thank you for the abundance that comes to me freely and easily because
Right.
I don't work like a donkey. Thank you. And I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you, Creator. You always take care of me. So, when you think about like, you start your day feeling shitty, the rest of your day is gonna be shitty. So the same applies to how you think about money and stuff. And
Mhm.
so those are things to consider. And so the action there is investigate your children's attitude or your niece and nephew's attitude towards money. How do they view it? I remember doing like these exercises with the
Yeah.
kids, like,
Mhm.
um, what do you think money is? How do you feel about it? It's funny because it comes out when we play Monopoly. My nephew's like, we're playing Monopoly, and he's like
He's just
free
giving
willy,
his
like
money. Yes.
just giving his money to everybody, which is a great thing. But when I play Monopoly, I'm out to kill. So
Yes.
I'm like, well,
Yes. You're
you're gonna
ruthless.
lose this one. But Monopoly's not real life, because when you give, it comes back. That I
Right.
wholeheartedly believe.
Right.
And
Right.
so, but again, going back to lesson number one, developing positive money attitudes, and then I think this next lesson is super key, which is creating wealth from within. And when I say that, I'm referring to you being the source of your wealth.
Mhm.
You'll be the most happiest and the most fruitful when you follow your passion and purpose in life. And we talked about this a few episodes ago about what it means to live a life of joy, and that is aligned with what is your purpose in life, and you being in alignment always. And that's it. And children really need to learn this early on, about that comes from facilitate an environment where they get to explore
Mhm.
their you know their um their
Your interest
inclinations,
and
right? Like
mhm.
what their interests are. Exactly. I think about my husband, and he's creative, he's an artist, and the fact that his mom was so influential in his life and really creating a space for him to be the artist that he is today, and to tap into that creative part of him. And so he does it on multiple levels. He's been a tattoo artist. He has done work on canvas. He also does digital work. He's done NFTs. Like, this is, he always taps into his creative side. But that came from a place where he was allowed to do that as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
he's figured out, okay, here's how I can make money throughout life and tap into my creative side. But that's a huge deal. And I think, and it's not nothing to really, this is why I had it as lesson number two, because it really is important to encourage your children to explore, but you need to be that supportive space to allow them to explore. So, and also be a part of that brainstorming with them too.
Right,
You
right.
know, don't let them do it all on their own. Like, help them figure it out, do things with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and explore their desires and passions. And then I'll leave it with this one, number three, which is embrace limitless opportunities to receive money. So this is shifting, and maybe even the parent's mindset, but the child's mindset of the idea of that you can only earn money from a salary.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
nah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
we know Gen Xers, millennials, Gen Z, you cannot rely on just getting a salary, because your company will drop you like a hot potato
Okay.
if
Without a
it
second
doesn't
thought.
serve them. If it doesn't serve them. Listen to our episode about how to thrive in corporate America. They don't care about you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's that. So
Right.
you need to expose children and yourself, if you've not done this, to different forms of different income streams and different income ideas. And there's rental from real estate, there is investments in the stock market, there's yield high yielding savings funds. I mean, there are a number of other things, but again, it's about exploration, and it really is a good activity to do as a unit, as a family. I think
Mm-hmm.
about, I'm just going to throw this out there. We've moved, and now we're renting our place. And so it's a new development, it's a new construction. And the owner, as part of a warranty with the builder, she had to come in after the first 3 months of buying the place. So at this point, we're already living here. And she came, to do a walkthrough to check all the stuff that they've done and if there's anything outstanding that the builders still have to work on. She brought her daughter with her.
Mm-hmm.
This is this is this is what she's doing, what she's showing her daughter. This is
Right,
part of their
right.
generational wealth. This is part of like showing your child, here's another way we could be earning money.
Exactly.
That's what you should be doing. So don't just assume like, oh, uh my kid won't understand, I should just shield them from this. No, it's also good that they learn these things. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this is what she, okay, got it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like I've
it's
sat
actually,
down with my kids and
yeah.
kind of looked at, okay, these are our expenses and this is what I'm paying.
Hmm.
And look, this is our, my investment accounts. This is how much I'm
Yeah.
putting in my investment account. So I've sat down with that. I know that's not something that people typically want to do with their kids because again, it's just like, well, they don't need to know all that.
Right, and it's
But
a balance,
sometimes
right?
it's
Like,
just a lesson.
yeah.
It's not like you're doing it with them every time,
Yeah,
but it's just
wait.
like, hey, I just want to kind of show
Uh-huh.
you something. Like it use it as a teaching moment, you
Right.
know?
Don't use this as a, you see how much you cost me. Like, no, like, obviously not. This is not to make your kid feel bad in any manner. If you're not in a good space and you're feeling depressed about your bank account, do not show your child. Please don't misunderstand what my sister is communicating.
You see this negative account is because of
This
your
is
ass.
so, you're so expensive. No, but those are just the top three. I actually have
Mhm.
10, and I'm excited to share this with you guys. So, yeah, now I will provide the links for how you guys can access the ebook. But it's, again, it's 10 lessons about how to have your child thinking about wealth in a positive way and in a way that will be a part of how they live their lives and how it'll affect them as adults in the best way possible. So, all that being said, there's a lot that we covered today. Anything else you want to close out with? I feel like, there's a lot of food for thought. And we shared some good resources that we'll include in the show notes, of course, and
Yeah.
on the site. But I want folks to feel good. I want you to reframe how you think about money. And I want you to start from a place of gratitude.
Yeah. And, I just kind of going back to when it comes to children, it's never too young to teach them about money. And it could just be really small. I know
Yep.
a lot of people don't think about allowances, but that is an option so that they can
Hmm.
learn how to manage their money, uh, spend their money and be mindful of how they're spending and not be impulsive and try to save if they want something. So there's so many different things that you can do with your children to start bringing how developing that relationship with money um, from an early age, and which I think is very important because you don't want to wait till they're in college and they get slammed with all these credit card opportunities. Like, ooh, credit card? Yeah,
Hello.
let me go
Right.
spend some money that I don't have. You
Right.
definitely don't want to do that. So, yeah, get the ebook. I think you'll get some great tips from there, and so that you can start having those conversations with your children, and even adopt some of those tips for yourself if you are not in a place where you've had where you need to start changing your mindset uh, about money and developing a better and healthier relationship with it.
Yeah. And also, if you want to understand just high level some investment stuff, because I know that investing in the markets can be a little overwhelming, there are some good neutral resources that you can go to. Check out Nerd Wallet, go to Investopedia to understand terminology, understand the different types of retirement vehicles or plans, and just different ways that you can invest, even if it's not in retirement, but you want to just, you know, um, start small in the stock market. There's multiple ways. Those are good resources to start with, and they are truly meant for the consumer and trying to educate. So I definitely encourage people to go to those websites, and we'll include that as well. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and for being a part of our community. And I really do hope that there was information that we shared today that you feel you could use to help with, or enhance your financial situation, because we all should be living a life of luxury, and it is all attainable.
Right.
So and I wish that for all of us, always. There's a lot of noise out there, but our message is consistent. Stop getting distracted by the smoke and mirrors. Tune out the noise and focus on your divine purpose in life. Vibrate higher to elevate your frequency. And always, thank you for listening.